Hello everyone, and welcome to part 4 of Jurassic Park characters sorted into Hogwarts houses. Today, I'll be sorting the characters featured in Jurassic World, so let's get started. Now this movie's mostly filled with new characters, with the exception of Dr. Wu, and I already talked about him in part 1, so we're going to start off part 4 by talking about the newest characters introduced to the Jurassic Park franchise in Jurassic World. And we'll start off with Owen Grady, one of the newest heroes in the Jurassic Park franchise. Owen's a very unique character, because he did what no one else had ever been able to do before in the movie canon. He trained a pack of velociraptors. It's become his signature trademark, both in the movie and amongst Jurassic Park fans outside the movie. Whenever people talk about Owen, the words raptor trainer or dinosaur trainer often follow. But Owen was more than a trainer to Blue and the Raptor Squad. He was also like a parent to them, because he raised them from babyhood, and they imprinted on him when they were born. And as he raised these dinosaurs, he understood that nurturing them took time and patience. And throughout Jurassic World, Owen always had the raptors' best interests in mind, because his relationship with the raptors was built on respect and trust. Along with being kind and patient, Owen was also steadfast and headstrong. He was highly opposed to Hoskins' idea of weaponizing the raptors, and even went as far as punching Hoskins in the face when he and his goon squad took over everything. Owen may not have been able to stop Hoskins from going through with his plans, but he still put himself in command of the raptors to make sure it was done his way, because he knew the raptors would trust him. Even when the Indominus Rex turned the raptors against the humans, Owen never fired a bullet at any of them. When Charlie came across Owen in the jungle, he lowered his gun. When Blue, Delta, and Echo cornered him on Main Street, he laid down his gun. And after that, he removed the headgear from Blue's head, which made her change her mind about killing Owen and his friends. Owen was loyal to the raptors until the very end of the movie. As far as Jurassic World goes, Owen's overall character was relatively consistent. When it came to Fallen Kingdom, Owen's character started to go through some changes. In the beginning of Fallen Kingdom, Owen was a much different person than how he was in Jurassic World. When Claire told him about the rescue mission to save the dinosaurs, he wasn't interested. It seemed as though Owen didn't care about dinosaurs anymore, going as far as to say that he would even let Blue die. But after watching some old video logs of Blue as a baby, and especially after he saw the cruelty that Blue and the rest of the dinosaurs suffered from Wheatley and his mercenaries, Owen wasn't going to sit this one out anymore. After sneaking on board the boat and escaping from his prison cell at Lockwood Manor, he literally crashed the dinosaur auction by setting a Stygimoloch loose on everyone. And after that was done, Owen protected his friends from the Indoraptor, even going as far as letting himself become an open target, while Claire focused the laser on him to distract the hybrid dinosaur. So after everything I've talked about, this is a bit of a toss-up here, because in Jurassic World, Owen displayed mostly Hufflepuff qualities, with a little bit of Gryffindor ones too. Whereas in Fallen Kingdom, he displayed mostly Gryffindor qualities with a little bit of Hufflepuff. So it's kind of reversed in each movie. Either one of these houses would fit Owen very well, but I can only pick one. And to make that choice, I'm going to consider the things that Owen has been consistent with. Things that he has in common in both Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom. Owen was a protector, whether he was protecting his friends, the dinosaurs, or even both. He was the kind of person who would always have your back and would always stand up for his friends, and he was never afraid to face whatever danger came his way. So after careful consideration, better be Gryffindor. Let's move on to our other leading character, Claire Dearing. Now get comfy because I have a lot to say about Claire. In Jurassic World, Claire was the manager of park operations, and she had but one goal: to make Jurassic World a successful and profitable theme park. Upon her introduction, Claire was a workaholic who lived by the book, by the numbers. All the charts, all the reports, all the numbers had to line up to her satisfaction. Anything less was unacceptable. But to her credit, Claire wasn't cutthroat or corrupt. She didn't resort to illegal or immoral business practices to meet her goals. She did what was acceptable within the moral placements of Masrani's company. However, Claire also didn't get emotionally attached to the dinosaurs, or as she used to call them, the assets. It was easier for her to pretend that they were just numbers on a spreadsheet. This narrow focus clouded Claire's vision, to the point where she didn't even know how to tell what a dinosaur's feeling. Just look in their eyes. But once she looked into the eyes of a dying Apatosaurus, Everything became clear for her then. She realized that the dinosaurs were indeed living things and not numbers. Once Claire changed as a character, she did everything she could to protect her loved ones, and displayed a great amount of bravery in the process, shooting a Dimorphodon to save Owen, ramming a Velociraptor with a truck to save Zack and Gray, and even setting the T-Rex loose to stop the Indominus Rex, all while wearing heels. When it came to Fallen Kingdom, Claire became an advocate for dinosaur rights, and founded the Dinosaur Protection Group, an organization dedicated to protecting the dinosaurs of Isla Nublar. She even flew all the way to Isla Nublar to personally aid in the rescue mission. And much like in Jurassic World, she fought hard to protect her friends from the Indoraptor. And she did that after getting a massive claw in her leg. Claire's a fighter, and a badass. So which house would best suit Claire? Well, one might say that, at least in the beginning, Claire's orderliness, her indifference, and by-the-book demeanor would make her a suitable Hufflepuff. And yes, that's partly true, but she also showed lots of Gryffindor bravery and boldness as well. So which one do I go with? I think the answer to that can be found if we look at Claire's overall character development. As Claire grew as a character, she still displayed Hufflepuff traits, but in a more positive way. Here's what I mean by that. Every Hogwarts house has traits that, if left unbalanced, can be detrimental to one's character. For example, if we look at Gryffindors, too much bravery can lead to recklessness. Or if we look at Slytherins, too much pride can lead to arrogance. Hufflepuffs are no exception. Too much loyalty can lead to indifference. And we saw that with Claire in the first half of Jurassic World. But like I said, as Claire changed as a character, she focused and balanced her Hufflepuff traits in a more positive way. She still worked hard at everything she put her mind to, and wasn't afraid of getting her hands dirty when necessary. And she was loyal to her loved ones. And one more thing. This is something that isn't often talked about, but Hufflepuffs can be brave too. After all, the Hufflepuff emblem is a badger. A rather unassuming animal on the outside, but when it's in danger, it's a fighter. And Claire is a fighter. So for those reasons, I'm going to sort Claire into Hufflepuff. Now we come to Zack Mitchell, one of the new kid characters in the movie. Zack was definitely an unusual character in the beginning. He didn't really seem to be interested in anything other than his cell phone and gawking at other girls. Not only that, he sort of came off as mean when it came to his little brother Gray. Zack didn't even seem to be surprised or hurt when Gray told him about their parents getting divorced, and then he dismissed Gray's feelings and basically told him to suck it up. To Zack's point, yes, there are some things that are beyond your control, and you have to pick yourself up at some point. But to Gray's point, it's okay to let your feelings out until then. Zack may not have handled the situation in the best way, but he at least tried to look out for Gray's best interests. And I think that's where Zack's redeeming qualities lie. Zack valued strength. He thought it was important to be strong and tough. Whenever they were faced with danger, Zack stepped up and was very protective towards Gray throughout their entire adventure. And he was very encouraging towards Gray as well. He didn't laugh at him or tease him about being scared. He helped him through it. Like when he makes that small comment about Gray being stronger than him when they were fixing the Jeep. Zack's value of strength and the values that come with the territory of being a big brother makes Zack an exceptional Gryffindor. Next comes Gray Mitchell, the other new kid character, and the younger brother of Zack. An archetype of kid characters in the Jurassic Park movies, Gray was a boy who absolutely loved dinosaurs. So much so that he was constantly shooting off facts about them, and other tidbits of information. Gray's very similar to Hermione Granger from Harry Potter, who, oddly enough, was sorted into Gryffindor. So would that make Gray a Gryffindor too? I personally do not think so. While Gray does display moments of courage, like jumping off the waterfall to escape the Indominus Rex, or zapping the Velociraptor in the back of the truck, it's not his strongest quality. Gray's best qualities are both his intelligence and his enthusiasm. Whenever Gray took an interest in something, he'd want to learn everything he could about it. If Gray didn't know something, he would ask. And that's part of what being a Ravenclaw means. It's not always about knowing everything. It's also about wanting to learn more and expanding your mind. And that's exactly what Gray did best. So I'm going to sort Gray into Ravenclaw. Moving on, we come to the father of Jurassic World himself, Simon Masrani. Much like his predecessor John Hammond, Masrani hired the best scientists, the best engineers, the best workers. And because Masrani owned so many different companies, he had a huge network of resources and utilized every one of them to the best of his ability. He was determined to make John Hammond's dream of a dinosaur theme park finally come true. In order for his dream to become a reality, it would only make sense that Hammond would entrust his dream to someone with a common vision and mindset. Masrani undoubtedly has a lot in common with Hammond, who I described as being a Slytherin back in Part 1. But Masrani was more than just a resourceful businessman who had the torch passed down to him. Masrani's biggest quality was his vision. He had an endless imagination and desires to see and do all kinds of things. Again, he's a lot like Hammond. But in addition to everything else I've mentioned about him, Masrani also displayed bravery when he tried to stop the Indominus Rex with his own hands. Overall, Masrani's determination, resourcefulness, vision, and bravery make him a great example of a great Slytherin. So it's Slytherin for Simon. Next up, we have Vic Hoskins. Now, Hoskins was a rather eccentric villain. He was aggressive, arrogant, and stubborn. Owen and Barry made it very clear that the Raptors were not safe and not completely obedient either. But all Hoskins heard was blah blah blah, Raptors can obey orders, blah blah blah, kill people, blah blah blah, Raptors can obey orders and kill people. Perfect. He was being a complete bonehead about the whole thing. Owen even called him out on it, saying that he only knows what he wants to know. Now, stubbornness is more of a Gryffindor trait, but being selective with information and only hearing what you want to hear is more of a Slytherin quality. So which one do I go with? Well, let's look at another scene to get our answer. When the Pteranodons escaped the aviary and attacked Main Street, lots of innocent people got hurt. And what was Hoskins doing then? He was smiling about it. He was willing to accept collateral damage for what he thought was the greater good. He was willing to let innocent people get hurt so that he could weaponize dinosaurs to protect people from getting hurt. Which kind of defeats the purpose, don't you think? Hoskins' willingness to resort to any means necessary to achieve his goals undoubtedly make him a Slytherin. Now let's move on to Barry. Now we first see Barry encouraging Owen after his successful training session with the Raptor squad. He was genuinely happy for him. Right away, you could tell that Barry was a good friend, not only to Owen, but also to the Raptors. He may not have been involved in the training sessions as much as Owen was, but Barry still spent a good amount of time with the Raptors for them to be comfortable around him. He made sure they were fed, he made sure they were comfortable, and he made sure they felt safe. The Raptors trusted Barry because he genuinely cared for their well-being. And you can especially see this when he's comforting an anxious Delta. And finally, Barry was humble. Barry respected the Raptors, but still exercised reasonable caution, because he still knew what they were capable of. In summary, Barry was a loyal, trustworthy, and genuine caregiver and friend. And loyalty, as well as being true to yourself and others, are traits that are best seen with Hufflepuffs, so I'm going to sort Barry into Hufflepuff. Now we come to Zara Young. This character was not an easy one to sort, because she's not in a lot of scenes, her most memorable one being when she was eaten by the Mosasaurus. So let's take a look at the other scenes we did see with her. Zara worked as Claire's assistant, and being Claire's assistant, Zara was the kind of person that always did her part to make sure Claire's work was completed and to stick to a strict orderly schedule. She liked to be organized, whether it was with work or even planning her wedding. Even though Zara didn't really show any enthusiasm when it came to watching Zack and Gray, she still seemed reliable and capable enough of doing the job, at least in Claire's eyes, since she trusted her to do it in the first place. Unfortunately, there isn't much else to go off of with Zara, so based on her orderly manner and reliability, I'm going to sort Zara into Hufflepuff. Next up, we come to Lowry. Lowry was a very outspoken man. He wasn't afraid to speak his mind to anybody. He had no problem telling Claire that her ideas were stupid. He had no problem calling out Masrani, the owner of Jurassic World, for making light of the Indominus Rex escaping. But Lowry was more than just talk. When Jurassic World was crumbling down and the park staff were being evacuated, Lowry chose to stay behind and help Claire and the others. He knew the risks of staying behind with dinosaurs loose, and he chose to stay behind. Now, some people might think that Lowry only did that to show off in front of Vivian and try to win her heart, but I would somewhat disagree. Right after Vivian told Lowry about her boyfriend, he could have easily just gotten on the helicopter and left with his tail between his legs, but he didn't. He stayed behind and lived up to his word. If he truly didn't care about the others, he would have already left. Lowry's bold and outspoken attitude make him an excellent fit for Gryffindor. Finally, we come to Vivian. Now, Vivian worked in Jurassic World's control room, and her job was to keep a watchful eye on everything in the park. From dinosaurs to guests, Vivian always knew what was going on at every moment. She was very vigilant. She was also polite and pleasant to work with. When the Indominus Rex attacked the ACU, or even when the Pteranodons escaped the aviary and attacked Main Street, people were getting hurt, people were dying, and Vivian saw it all from the control room. There's a saying that I've heard that goes something like this, quote, "In times of crisis, people show who they truly are," end quote. And despite all the chaos, Vivian did her best to handle the situation and maintain her composure. She was brave, sharp, and focused. So I'm going to go ahead and sort Vivian into Ravenclaw. And that's a wrap for sorting Jurassic Park characters into Hogwarts houses Part 4. Stay tuned for Part 5, where I sort the characters featured in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Did you agree with my choices or disagree? What are your thoughts? Talk about them in the comments and have some fun. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more Jurassic content, you can find lots more of it on my channel. See you next time.